What's up, everybody? I'm Jacob with Very Good Knife Company. Welcome in. Happy to have you. So today, I'm gonna grab my card. Today, I'm going to be finishing some knives. And in the current stage, they are ready for some rough work. We have adventures in ADCRV2, one of each color in Micarta. What's up, Bubba? How's it going, bud? It's going. A little warm. We're doing all right. Got a gnat, a green, a black, a blue, a red, and a burgundy. And I've got to take them over to the metal band saw, the porta band, and cut all the heads off of the Corby screws. Covington, boy howdy. You don't get much breeze, or are you getting any breeze down there right now? I feel like every time I've been through Covington, it's stagnant dead, like choke hot. Portugal, what's up? Let's get a blaze off. Get rid of this acetone. Now, I don't remember if I put a brand new band on this or not. I may not have. My bucket of scraps. No breeze down there. Every time I go down that way, it's always been like a stagnant hot. What's up, Steven? I bet it's hot down there, out in the middle of the ocean. So this is my bucket of scraps. It's probably a little more than 100 pounds. And it's got a bunch of ADCRV2 and Nitro V scraps and small pieces. This bucket is as old as Very Good Knife Company. I started with this one as my little scrap bucket. The thing is, while it's full of all those little scraps, it's filled in all the gaps with the heads of all those Corby screws. And I'm betting it's probably just north of 100 pounds. I bet the bottom breaks before it ever fills all the way up, because the bottom is like bulging bad. And it has to get drug around. So I just moved my bench and it was just nice and tucked up underneath it with all this stuff. And now I've just been driving myself crazy because the damn thing's in the way since I moved the bench. There they are. All right, let's cut these off. It's gonna get noisy for just a second. We'll cut these Corby screw heads off. Make quick work of it. My old bandsaw. It's just a Harbor Freight bandsaw. So I used to, with the scrap, I used to try and save all the carbon steel and separate it. It just got old. We would do canister Damascus with all our scraps. Canister Damascus, where you take like a piece of steel tubing and fill it full of all that stuff and some 1095 powder, tap it around until it kind of fills in, weld the end shut, and then go forge it. I honestly, it's not as fun to me. It gets so hot down here in Georgia, and I don't like to stand around a forge. All right, chop. All right, so those are all into the same stage now. We got the heads of the Corby screws cut off. So these right here are pretty dang cheap. This bandsaw. This one I got from Harbor Freight. And to be honest with you, they're not the most amazing. However, if you catch them on sale, they're $100. If you're an Inside Track Club member, and if you go to Harbor Freight enough, which it's worth it then, you can usually get them for around that anyway. And for 25 bucks, you get like a 12-month or 18-month warranty or something like that. Basically just a replacement warranty. Now when I take this one in, I take it every year to go get a new one. Every year. And I don't have to pay anything for a new one. However, if I pay 25 bucks for a replacement plan on the new one, then I get the next one for nothing as well. For 25 bucks anyway. So every time I want a new one, I pay 25 bucks. And it's just a cheap Harbor Freight Bauer bandsaw. And I spent like $100 on this little plate setup from Swag Off-Road. I don't know what the hell significance an off-road company has to do with in-shop portaband plates. But this plate came with it. Quick disconnect, just screws in here. And it bolts into the base. And that was the game changer. Because we have had a whole bunch of these and just kind of stuck the handles in a big old vise and used like a clamp. I use the strap that comes with the cord. Every time I get a new one of these, the cords are like Velcro strapped together. I use that piece of Velcro and I strap the trigger down and then just use it manually, plug it in to turn it on. So yeah, $100 and then 25 bucks every time I want a new one. I'll take that any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Considering a Milwaukee is like 350 bucks. So yeah, I keep the case, and yeah, I have to go back to Harbor Freight to get a new one every year. But I mean, really, 25 bucks? I don't care if they blow up once every other month. I'll do it for 25 bucks. Because I mean, I feel like I'm going to Harbor Freight that much anyway. What's up, Gabe? How's it going, bud? Alrighty. Everybody's in the same stage. So we've got 2 Gen 3s mixed in today. This is a Rambler in black. It's going to be all black. And then we've got an Adventure all black. And then we've got Ramblers, one of each color. They're all Gen 2. Got a burgundy, a red, a blue, a black, a green, and a matte. And then one of each in Gen 3. That'll be all black in the end. So these are all going to be going to Finland. These are going to Finland as soon as I get them done. I'll probably send them out next week. I know for a fact that they'll all be done this week. But we're going to run them through this belt, 60 grit, hot and fast. Let's run it. Turn the vacuum on. Go. I don't want to know what it is. Just a frog in a pot. Oh yeah, always water, bud. We really don't drink a whole lot of sodas. We drink so much water. I don't feel like shit if I drink anything but water nowadays. Joys of getting a little older. If I drink anything other than water, then acid reflux and get all groggy. Turning like 31 was not. That was a big turning point. When I started noticing things like that. 33 now. A little more experience. What's up, John? That coffee was really good. I like it. What's up, Rock Lobster? What's up, Connor Kane? Glad you stopped in. It's finished? I wonder. Funny you should say that. I was just thinking in my head, no, don't quit on me yet, because my belt just started to get grimy, start to clog up. Then I'll start seeing a slight burn. If it gets deep, you'll see it down in the side. It's really hard to get it that burnt without deliberately burning it. But most burn I get out with the 120. It's not a problem. But I usually always use a used belt to do my handles. Unless I have a whole bunch to do, then sometimes I'll put a brand new belt on. I like a 60 grit because I find that any more coarse than that, they start to gunk up faster. They just hold stuff faster, which makes them burn faster, even when they're not dull. And now some colors of micarta will burn a little faster than others too. What it has to do with the added pigmentation into the resin will change the hardness. So if the micarta is softer, it won't cut as fast. When it's softer, it kind of just fluffs. So the harder the micarta, the faster and easier, the cleaner it'll go through the belt. If it is usually the greens and the blues will burn faster, especially double colors. Most of what I use is just single colors, but like the burgundy is a double red, and it doesn't burn quite as bad. So I don't know like how much pigmentation they're having to add to change the hardness or the structural differences between like a nat micarta. This is just a nat micarta. There's no pigmentation, there's no coloring added at all. And this stuff you can feed through a belt really fast. You can feed it through a dirty belt really fast, and it'll kind of burn, but not much. And I mean, it'll run just as fast as you can run it. However, blue, I'll show you. This belt is not a good example of a good clean belt. You can start to see the lines, the heavy lines on the belt. That's where it's going to burn at. And for example, here is a brand new belt. Bright shiny red. So if I have a whole bunch of blue or a whole bunch of green to do, then I'll usually put on a new belt. Like I said, a lot of the burn is pretty superficial, and I'll be able to get it out with the 120. Either way, I want it through this process before I worry about getting it all out at all. So even if it does burn a little, you gotta at least try and get through this part the most efficiently with the least amount of burn. It just makes it easier down the road. But the blue, specifically into the corners, is where you're gonna lose your grit. Your belt's gonna start losing its sharpness out towards the corners first. And that's because I'm using those corners to get inside here. And you see that discoloration and that little bit of burn right there. Now that burn is from the edge of the belt. That'd be a heat burn. Again, it's superficial, so it's not like we're gonna have to be too scared of burning all the way through. If it burns so bad it burns up in here, you should have stopped. You should know better anyway. But if it burns just a little bit from the edge of the belt, a lot of times, honestly, what that is some of the belt the backing thread burning onto there. And again, it's very superficial. So we're just looking to get through it clean. Now the key is once it touches off on the blade, once it hits the tang, it's going to relieve the amount of focus pressure on just the micarta. It's just going to spread it out. We won't be grinding past that tang because it obviously is going to grind a whole lot slower than the micarta anyway. So wet grinding, number one, wet grinding makes a big old mess, but once they're ground, once they're finished ground, I do my absolute best to never get them wet at all. I would rather not watch, or I'd rather not get any water or chance of water in between the handles, even though they're tight fit and sealed. Plus the ADCR V2, I mean, they're fully finished at this point, the blade. The only thing that's left to do to it is going to be to Scotch-Brite it. Once it's all finished, that'll be the last step. We'll do that here in just a little bit. But I do my best to keep it dry. The heat's not really an issue. Like I said, if I would like to have a sprayer set up for finish grinding kitchen knives, because kitchen knives, you grind them so thin, it's hard to keep them cool and get them to the thickness that you need to without burning them. So it's nice to have a sprayer set up, but for like handle work, oh, that'd make a big mess. Wouldn't want to mix any kind of wetness with all this dust, then it would just turn into clay or putty everywhere. That would clog up my vacuum too. Alright, so here's an example. See that slight discoloration? And again, that's all superficial burning. It's very superficial. And it all looked like this until I hit the tang. So you can see right there, it hasn't just but barely hit the tang. So I'm going to run a pass and make it burn just a little. What's up, Fed? How's it going? Make it burn just a little, right? But watch what happens when I keep cleaning it off and it doesn't go past the tang. Watch. Now it's gone. See that? So worrying about the burn, it's not that big of a deal. Once you get it down to a level thickness, or I mean a level surface, and it has that tang to rest upon, it is no longer a problem because we're changing how much it's cutting. But see, getting up in there with the edge of the belt and getting it to not burn is nearly impossible, and this is why I just don't get too nitpicky with it in this stage. I just save that stage for the next step, which is the small wheel and the big wheel, where we'll run around the spine. And then we'll clear all that stuff up. You'll never even know that was there. See, here's another example of that. See how it starts to burn there? And then watch what happens when I reach the tang. See there? Start to burn. We reach the tang. Burn no more. Just got a little dust on her. Like that. Pretty neat, right? So no need to fuss with all of that. It'll come out. Red sometimes has a tendency to burn. However, it seems to go away real fast too. that red. One more. Then we'll move on to something more fun. That's all for that step. Don't go anywhere if you want to keep watching something cool. Because we're going to turn these into finished knives. And it's not going to take us all that long. What's up, Papa Bear? So here's that belt. And you can see when they look like that, they're done. Throw it away. It's over. I don't even like them to get to that point. I mean, but when I only have 2 more knives left to do, I'll push it. It's not a big deal. Sometimes it means I have to take an extra 2 minutes on one with the 120. Not a big deal. I mean, it's worth doing that instead of changing to a brand new belt for 1 or 2 more handles. It's just not a big deal. All right, so now we're going to swap over to the other grinder. We're going to start with the big wheel. And let me grab my card. Oh, I can't wait to get this table out of my way. This table is going to be gone soon. And I've had this as my grinding table for so long now. I just don't need it anymore. I'm ready to get my other benches right. All right, so this is my block off plate. Just an old piece of Kydex from Interior. Thermoform. See that wood grain? Pretty cool. But this just blocks my chute. You hear that open up. And I'll put this other one on that chute. Now it changes all my vacuum over here. Sure my bandsaw vacuum outlet is closed up as well. Alright, so now we've changed to a 120 grit. This is a ceramic belt as well. This is the last stage of ceramic that I use, because this is pretty much the last of the rough cut and the beginning of the finishing. Everything after this belt is going to be purely finishing. Because, I mean, as long as it's clean, 120 grit's all you really need. On ADCR V2, I like to go up to 400 because the cleaner a finish, the less moisture sticks to it, the less it rusts. Alright, we'll go ahead and start. Actually, you know what? Before I do, I'm going to turn this vacuum off because it's so annoying. I'm going to go and I got a chant for these lanyard holes on these Ramblers, and I like to do that before I do the sides because well, you'll see why here in just a second. I'm gonna just set you over here and I'm going to clean up all the lanyard holes. I'm gonna first run my 1/4-inch drill through them and make sure that everything's straight through there, nothing's shifted. will only take a minute. All right. Sometimes those holes will shift by a couple thousandths. The scales will kind of move around. It's not ever much, but you know, when you put them together, sometimes they will. Which one's the new one? Oh, I gotta start marking these and be a little smarter about it. I think this is the new one. We're gonna find out. All right. Now I'm just gonna take a 45-degree chamfer. It's like an 8-flute chamfer. No chatter chamfer bit. And I'm just gonna clean up these lanyard holes. See, we take it from this to this. See that? That's all. It's just the Ramblers. Adventures don't have lanyard holes. But I like to do this before the next step, because the next step we're going to be going this way on the sides on that belt. And if there's any kind of like fluffing or burr around the top of that edge from that cutter, then it'll be cleaned up once and for all. I don't want to do this as my final step if I can help it. Sometimes I'll forget. It's not a big deal. It's really not. But if I do this late and happen to forget about it, then sometimes I'll just take a piece of sandpaper and give it a little scrub. Keeps there from being anything uncomfortable or burrs or anything like that. Good clean fit finish. Just like that. That's all. This keeps your lanyard from chafing on those sharp corners. Two more. One. And two. Yeah, I know somebody who's got a knife just like this. And I mean, just like it. Fed Harrison's got one of these. It's a Rambler in the burgundy. And his has got a gray sheath, I believe. He got it at Blade Show. Shout out, good. Saw him pop in. All right, now let's go back to the grinder and make these pretty. And it's quite a simple process from here. We're gonna run it. And start with that 120. We'll work our spine. I'm gonna go from up into here. I gotta leave everything up in here for the small wheel, but I'm gonna go from about right here all the way around to the tip. And then I'm gonna go up and down the sides. Heck yeah, brother. All right, let's do that. Just like that. See, all the way up to here. That big wheel won't work up in here, so we'll have to get the small wheel. Here, all the way around. Do that all of them. Worth noting, see on the Gen 3s, the screws are just below the surface. They don't get ground on. They're removable screws and I don't want them to get cut. These are mock-up screws if they do get scratched. I always put new screws in them. So these screws have been a part of several knives, but on the Corby screws now what I'm looking for is a finish. This is more important than it is on these. On here I just kind of want to make sure that there's nothing, no gouges, no deep scratches, or not smooth. But you see where I had cut the Corby screws off and then flushed it with the side. That's what we're looking at here. This is what we want to take it to. Just cleaning it. Now, sometimes you'll get that little, you see it right there? That's a little deep gouge. And what that's from is that bandsaw blade kind of doing a little wiggle and twist when I was cutting that Corby screw head off. And rather than go super deep to try and get past it, I would rather keep it flat, because we're going to take this over to the router and radius these edges. Now, the key for me is that the scratch doesn't go past about the side of the Corby screw, because I know, well, there's about 1/4 of an inch there, and that's how deep our radius is going to be. So before I get too crazy on trying to take that little scratch out, if I'm just patient with it, it might not even exist after we take it to the router. And whatever does exist, it'll be easier to get it looking like this rather than try and do it all at once. Work smarter, not harder. I forgot to turn my vacuum on. I was wondering why it was getting dusty over here. These are all the same steel. I usually do a good mix. Those are all ADCRB2 carbon steel. And I do a lot of Nitro V. These are Nitro V. These have been heat treated, but they are not anything but just a blank. Same as one of these, just Nitro V. That's what they look like underneath there. Just like that. But these ones are all carbon steel. Now here's more of that what I was talking about earlier. That little dip from the bandsaw blade. See what we can get worked out with the 120, because you see we still got some scratches we've got to work out. But I really just don't want to get overzealous with how much I take away, because again, you just got to remember what the product is, or what the finished product's supposed to look like. Is we're going to take that router and radius those edges and probably get rid of a bunch of that. So just trust in the process. I like 80 CRB2 carbon steel and Nitro V stainless steel. Those are the two steels that I use primarily. Sometimes I use AEVL. It's the same thing as Nitro V in my opinion. Not necessarily my opinion, but I mean, factually, it's almost identical. I like simple stuff. So you can see, I didn't quite get it all out. I'm just gonna make a note of this one and this one. See, they're on the same side, the same place, and that way I can show you what I'm talking about when I'm done with it. When we get to the router over there. Go. Just like that. Thanks, bud. You taking off? I appreciate you, brother. Much love to you. Okay. See, there's another one of them, what I was talking about. Sometimes I do it. It's the way it is. Got one on this side too. And we'll see what's left of those when we get done with the router. Holy cow. It got hot. Real hot all of a sudden. like one day, even the people that are diehard and up in the front of the line ain't even gonna be able to get in. It's gonna get so big. We ain't even gonna be able to hear each other. I couldn't hear anything anybody said in there. It was so loud at Blade Show. Sometimes your hand slips off. Dry from all the dust. See how gentle the belts are? Nothing really removed, no skin removed. Dry slick. I've done that with a brand new 36 strip too. Outcome wasn't the same. Happens fast though. Happens real fast. 15 years. 15 years has been my only job. The only other job that I have had on the side was tree service. Now, I did a little bit of tree service before we started making knives. My dad was a stonemason for about 30 years. Master. Good one. The best in Georgia for a time. Probably the best in the world for a time. On a real level. And he was also a massive mega case collector. So when 2008 came and the economy kind of went south, nobody was building anything, there was no work. Started selling off the case collection. Had enough to take the gun shows and sell just case knives and pay bills for a while. I'll put it that way. Well, it just kind of evolved into making knives. Because once you get into this, you start knowing people, and we just started making knives, and by 2010, it was a full-time job. For both of us, me and my dad. And I've thought about quitting several times, and it won't leave me, so. And I'm way too deep in it now to ever give it up. If I wanted to quit, it should have happened before Very Good Knife Company. And that was after I busted myself up. But once I recovered a little, was ready to get on my feet again, physically, literally on my feet again, honestly, I just didn't know what else to do with myself. So I cut off my part of the business, forged my own way. And definitely in it too deep now. I'm having more fun with it now than I ever have. Buddy, you ain't kidding. It's disgraceful. I agree. What's up, Aries EDC? How's it going, bud? Finishing up some knives. Alright, now we will go and do 220, same steps that we just did. So sides and spine all the way around to the tip. This one will go a lot faster because with the 120 we're trying to take a whole bunch down. With the 220 we're just kind of cleaning. It goes a lot faster. We'll run through this, then we'll switch to small wheel. But you see the difference between that 220 slick and the 120 rough. See, there's no, well, there's no shimmer to it. Not really much to the 220 either, but maybe you can tell how much smoother it is. It is a good bit smoother. And you can really tell on the spine, see how much darker black that gets? Yes sir, Micarta. See the rough? See the smooth, shiny? And you can see my thumb up against it too. That's the difference. That's all for the 220, for the big wheel. Then of course we'll do the small wheel, that goes real fast. Alright, fly through these. Now, here that little, that shape is accentuated. That 220 is super smooth and this is rough. So you can really see it there, but again, I think the router will take all of that out. So we're just gonna leave it alone. Go. Another one of those little accentuated marks. Router will eat that off. This process goes a little faster. That's nice. Have a good rock lobster. It was good to see you, bud. All right. Now, we're going to run the small wheel. This process goes really quick. Obviously, we're not doing the sides or all the way around. We're just doing underneath. So, and then once we do the small wheel, 120 and 220, then we will go and do the router. And these knives will be almost done at that point. Let's go with this first. So we're going to take it. It's looking like this. It's looking like this. Just like that. That's it. Like that. Again, there's the before. You can see this is where it stops. We're going to make it flow. Like that. We're almost to the router. Well, we've got a little cut up in here. Router will take that off. What's up, Zach? How's it going, bud? I'm trying to finish up that Finland order, taking up all the room on my bench. Pretty good, bud. Hope you're all right too. Good to see you. Almost done. be ready for router. 220 goes even faster than this. That last one. Now we got to do 220. So Zach's actually got a knife finishing up this week as well. That one right there. Adventure Nitro V. And Zach's got he has got a good looking combo is going to go on it. It's going to be the Fat Carbon Silver Space Coral, red liners, and some Gulso bolts instead of Corby screws. That'll be super, super, super awesome. The Silver Space Coral, I've only done one knife with the Silver Space Coral. And that was one Zach was like, nope, I gotta have some of that. And I agree, I need some of it too. I haven't seen enough. It was that one first, yes sir, those are Nitro V Adventures. One of those might be yours too. Let's see, what you have? I got a Nitro V green with bead blast finish. That's one of these. And then I've got a Nitro V with a wide belly. That'd be this one. Wide belly. It's about a little more than a 16th inch added on to the belly. See there? Wide belly. And that one's going to be blue and a leather saddle. And then I've got Zach's with the space coral, the red liners. And then I've got another one in a combination that a few of us locals call money. The color combination we call money. It's the Jungle Wear Fat Carbon with copper Corby screws. So the green looks like dollar bills and the copper's pennies. Anyway, I got a guy that's got two of those on order, two in money. That's what he wants. So good, a lot of Nitro V Adventures. I feel like there's one or two more over there that I can't see. But there's like 9 of them sitting there. There's only like 2 that aren't ordered. There's that final 220 finish for this one. This one, these Gen 3s, 220 is as far as I take it. Now they're gonna get bead blasted. So this one's gonna get routed, and then I'm gonna take it apart. See how fast that goes. Real clean, real fast. Yes, sir, you're on that list. It's happening this week, Tim. This week. I'll show up to you here in just a second. Just so much faster, run through them. Last step goes really quick. go. Now, yep, that bead blasted one is it's number 2 down on the list. I'm trying to get this Finland order out of my way because these things are, I'm literally taking up all the room on my bench. I still got, get rid of these. I need to get them gone. I need them out of here. These guys, that's the other half of what I got going on right now. And considering these ones are just about done, I don't have much time left to spend on them. So I'm gonna go turn this fan on and grab a water too. It's hot and I'm losing voice. Oh, the shop owner. The shop owner, she is absolutely a wonderful, sweet lady. And she said, she came and give her Home Depot credit card to Miss VGKC last week. It said, go buy him an air conditioning. Just go get one, have it delivered. So we got one on the way. It's a big one, a big floor unit. It'd be pretty cool. Oh yeah. There we go. All right. I don't want to listen to the router for the rest of the night, so I'm gonna put my ear protection on, and this thing makes quite a mess. So I'm gonna go full gear, and we're gonna pound through these right quick. And before I do, I'll go ahead and explain it to you. Now, oh boy. Man, I went through that phase with coffee where all I was drinking was coffee constantly. Alright. My hose thing just keeps getting shorter and shorter. I cut 5 feet off of it the other day ago because well, this is about half of it. It split somewhere down in the middle, and I had to cut it all the way back to that. Which is okay. Maybe now it won't break again. That's the 3rd time I've had to do that. Except that's the most I've had to cut off of it yet. Alright, so I always use 2 different router bits, and the one that I have on right now is a quarter inch roundover. This is a 3/16 roundover. Now, I only use a 3/16 roundover for those handles that use 3/16 thick micarta. This is quarter inch micarta, so the bigger, thicker knives, the full handled knives, those use quarter inch. And that's what we're gonna do today. So it's gonna cut that same radius that we have up front. It's gonna cut that same face radius all the way around. And remember, I was talking about the router taking off things like this, and it will. I'll show you how. This goes pretty quick. I just put this router bit on. It's brand new. Let's run it. There you have it. Like that. That's right. That's true. All right. Oh, what a mess. Look at this mess. All right. So, let's see what I'm missing. Hey, I did see Gideon do, I did see a couple of his shorts on that Hornet. He does like it. That's a great looking knife. I'm going to do more of those too. That blast finish. Just the blast finish with the grip tech. I'm definitely going to do some more of those. I've got so much grip tech now. I did, not going to lie, I just ordered more of it today too. Because I have a buddy, Victor. His name's Victor. You guys may have heard of Victor. He's the lineman that helped me he's the lineman that helped me design and develop the lineman knives over the years. And when Victor wants something, Victor usually gets it. So he wanted the navy blue grip tech, and I didn't have any, so I ordered him a half sheet. So that means I'll be doing some navy blue grip tech as well. But anyhow, oh, Zach, I can't complain. I hurt, but I also did it to myself, so I can't complain, I guess. I can always complain, but it doesn't do any good. So these guys, these Gen 3s are going to get removed. The handles are going to get removed. Yep, it does. I've got 2 linemen right now that haven't necessarily put in the order. So what they'll do is they'll call me and they'll just talk about it for an hour and a half, and then like 2 days later they'll order knives. So I have 2 linemen that want grip tech. And then I'm going to send a knife to Victor with grip tech. Victor has a whole box full of lineman knives that so Victor would come up when he was living in Georgia, which he did for a long damn time. But anyway, Victor would come up to the shop and he'd get a knife for himself, and then if I had any extra, he would take those too. And what he would do is he would just go ahead and take them to the job, take them to work with him, and he would just sell them whenever he would have a new crew member or something ask where he got that knife, then he would just sell them one out of his box. And so he ended up selling some of his personals, and then he always makes up for it too, though. But right now he's got an Adventure Junior on order with that blue grip tech. He wants an Adventure Junior, a Gen 3 one. He texted me, he's like, so what is this grip tech that I'm hearing of, and this Cerakote? I must have it. So all right, so here is that Gen 3 Rambler. This one is complete, although it doesn't look like it. That's the one that I just pulled the handles off of. So, here's those Gulso bolts. We're just going to put the post in. Man, I was tickled to death to see them, Zach. I really was. I usually go see them every year. I didn't get to get out much, really at all. I went out to see my suppliers. That's always like a #1 thing of mine every year. But I was pretty surprised. She came up to see us in like the first 20 minutes of day one. That's when that was like the first 20 minutes of day one. So I don't know how many people she did in that first hour, but I was maybe one of the first ones of the whole show. I just thought it was cool just to talk to her and do an interview with her. But for her to put me on the front of the video, it was, I appreciated it a lot. It was very nice. And I did get some business off of that. I absolutely did. 2 or 3 of the orders on the board are from that exact, like they came to us specifically saying, saw you on TKL's channel, and I would like to order a knife. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty dang cool. And then, and Sunday, they both come by. Tim came by too. So anyway, that is how they fit up. You see how super nice and tight and flush. I don't know that it gets, really any tighter of a fit than that. They're tight, as tight as it can get. They're not even screwed down right there. They're just sitting on there. That is exactly what I'm looking for in a fit. No screws, just posts, no tension, and they're, as fit can get. Pretty cool. Anyway, so that's that, dude. This one's done, like I said. Finished at 220 grit, and that's all I need out of this because it's going to get blasted anyways. There's no real reason to, go any further. So the scales will get blasted. And then I've got another one of those on the bench, just like another Gen 3. This is an Adventure, and it's getting the dark green. This is going to be an exact copy of the Maker's Carry. And I bought a whole sheet of this Micarta so I could do more of those as well. All right, and I've got one more over here that I need to get taken apart right quick. This is an Adventure, full-size Adventure in black as well. So again, these Finland, the Finland people, I should know the name of the company. I want to say Lamnia. Anyway, they ordered Adventures, Adventure Junior, Tradition Juniors, and Ramblers. One of each color. And, oh, dude, man, if you want to know how much options Cerakote has, you can go on Cerakote's website, and I don't think that you'll ever get through all of what they have. Honestly, Steven, you're going to get tired of, like, they have so many damn coatings and colors. I couldn't even get through them all. I still haven't. So they have like 10, 15 different series, and some of the series have like 200 or 300 colors. It's like, holy shit. You know what? I'll just go with this color and this color. But a bunch. And I've been using the F series, which is a fast cure. And the ones that I've looked through, I kind of just was looking for the basic colors, but I want to do something special, just a couple of special runs, you know. But I've been using the F series, and this is the Black Shadow. I used, I did try the Carbon Black. Now, I goofed up and I didn't screw anything up. This is what it looks like when it settles. This stuff settles and separates big time. But I used that carbon black, and when I bought it, I didn't pay attention. So the bronze that I have, which is this one, this is the bronze. The bronze has it's a flat, which means no sheen, no shine to it anywhere at all, none whatsoever. Well, the carbon black is not a flat, it's a matte, which is not a flat. It's just not the same. And you know, I was kind of frustrated with that, trying to get that finish just right. I ended up buying another thing of that black shadow. I bought that pint of black shadow, and it's a flat, and that's what I wanted. That's the color that is on the... There's one in the store right now if anybody is curious at what we're talking about. The black Cerakote. There's a Falcon in the store with purple haze fat carbon, and it's got the black. It's pretty sweet. Oh yeah. Like sizzling on lava. Alright, so now we got to finish these knives. We've got to finish the knives, and we're going to move up to a 400 grit belt and basically keep going the same way we were going. We have this guy right here. This is a just a blue Scotch-Brite belt. We'll do 400 grit. Since we're at the small wheel, we'll do the small wheel on the underside first with both the 400 and the Scotch-Brite, and then we'll switch back to the big wheel, and that'll be pretty much it. It'll be time to sharpen. The big wheel is the last one, the last step. It'll be the last attachment that I use, because that's what I use to sharpen on. So I don't want to be switching back and forth, so I kind of go the way I go. Big wheel, small wheel, then small wheel, back to big wheel. Ramblers are the way. They are just the way, honestly. I think they are. When I told the Finland guy, he was asking which ones are the #1 sellers, and I told him that Ramblers are not my #1 sellers, but they aren't my #1 sellers, but they are my most underrated seller, meaning that everyone that has them swears by them to the point where they really just don't want to carry anything else. I mean, really, everyone that has the Rambler swears by it. And those are really the only people that'll ever buy more of them or ask for them, because I just don't get a whole lot of requests for them. I do have 2 on the board right now, but they're going to the same person, and he also has like 5 of them already, and he uses them to carve. So they have one of the highest feedbacks from any of the models, meaning the people that have them love them so much that they reach out to me constantly and tell me how much they love it, as opposed to some other ones. Not saying that nobody else likes their knives, just that I hear more good things about the Rambler. And I think the only reason, actually I know the only reason that it doesn't sell more is because it's boring and it's plain. It's very plain looking. I understand that. I'm not knocking it. Trust me, this is one of my favorite knives. But in truth, it's just plain and boring looking. I get it. Especially compared to things like the Falcon sitting on the table. You know? Or the Mustang. Like, what about the Wasp with that swedge? Man, I mean, they're just so flashy looking. And people will always choose those over over this. Well, I am too. I'm plain and boring too. This is, you know, I've carried the Adventure for so long that I can't break away from it. But my secondary carry is a Rambler. And that's what all my kids have. That's what Miss VGKC carries up until she just now started carrying an Adventure when I made these. Man, the Wasp, especially for like inside the pocket, it is the ticket. Slice Wizard Deluxe. All right, I'm never gonna get through these. All right, I'm probably not gonna sharpen these today because it's 5 o'clock. But I'll just have a good sharpening session with all the rest of them tomorrow because I spent more time doing prep work on all of this stuff and all of the other ones that I have left over there to do. What's up, Sir Knife a Lot? How's it going, bud? So I'm just going to go ahead and finish these out and get them to a point of ready to sharpen, basically a finished knife, and then we'll call it a day. So we're going to go 400 grit and Scotch-Brite on the small wheel back to the big wheel for the same process, and we'll be done. Let's run it. Thanks, bud. This really isn't doing much, but if you can see that little line in the middle, that little guide wheel on the router always leaves a scratch. You can see it runs right down the middle, and it runs all the way around. It rolls a little scratch in. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. So we just run it on that 400 and get rid of it. That's all we're doing there. I'll start showing them to you as I go through the Scotch-Brite, because the difference between the 400 and the 220 on that final finish, I mean, really, it's just hard to see. But these things start really shining when I hit them with this Scotch-Brite, so I'll show you what that looks like. This is the final finish. Like that. See how clean it is? Beauty. You need to slide up this way one day. Cleveland. Not too far. Good little way. Not far. Just give me a holler. I'm here in the shop all the time. I mean, any day during the week. Come on up. If you ever get free time. Sometimes Scotch-Brite like to stick down in there. You're a good ways down there. You come up too, Fed. I told you that blade show. You come on up. Come on up. Like a mirror, huh? Looking good. Not quite done, but pretty close on that part. Alright, that's all for the small wheel. Now we can go back to the big wheel. This is when I get excited because that is the last attachment change for this round of knives. Now from this point, they get sharpened after doing the same things that we just did there, 400 and Scotch-Brite, the final little finish. After that, they'll get sharpened. So, it's exciting. I'm going to do one more thing before I get fully set up. Done. Put my open platen, no rest platen on the other grinder. I'm going to set my Scotch-Brite belt up. These are flat ground, and in order for me to get that final finish, I'm going to go back to a flat platen like that. Now, if they're hollow ground, Wasp, Wasp, Tradition, Junior Hornets, Mustangs, all those, if they're hollow ground, then I'll go ahead and finish them on the same Scotch-Brite that I do the handle and everything on. But once I do the bevels, or flat bevels, I have to do them on the flat plate. You get it. But I always do that before sharpen, so I just make sure that I'm all set up. Scotch-Brite is the last thing to touch all of the knives before sharpening. Let's go ahead and run them. 400 grit. Go to the sides first. Make sure our Corby screws are nice and clean. No scratches going this way. Everything going this way. Uniformity. Just fine. Like that. Like that. Just like that. And now I have these sharp edges here. I like to just touch them with the 400 grit and the Scotch-Brite. It'll smooth them out exactly the way I want to. Like that. See, they're no longer sharp, but they're not distorted. They're clean. And the Scotch-Brite will clean it the rest of the way, but there's no hot spots or sharp spots on the handle anywhere. That's what we want. Clean up. Knot her down. Like that. Now there's one more step, and that's the Scotch-Brite. But you could call this a finished knife, and you wouldn't have to Scotch-Brite it. It just makes it blend the surface a little better. Like that. What's up, Gerald? Like that. Voila. Yes, sir. 400 grit. That's the last grit. 400. Magna cut, huh? Well, that's a deep subject. So, I'm not necessarily against Magna cut. I'm not against the idea of it, but I don't know that you'll ever see me using Magna cut. I'm not sure. So what I am not unnecessarily, what I can't really be classified as a bandwagoner, and I won't ever do anything just because everybody else is doing it. And I think where the industry has gone wrong with, in my opinion, I think where the industry has gone wrong with a lot of the newer steels, and every time a new steel comes, it's not just Magna cut. And so that means that the issue is not necessarily about Magna cut, it's more of who's pushing it, you know? My issue with it is how a lot of the industry has just basically shunned anyone that uses anything but Magna cut. I think that's wrong. And we should be free to choose for ourselves without influence of anybody else trying to absolutely shove it down our throat that it is so much better that we're an idiot for using anything else. And, you know, hell, I mean, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But I think it's skewed. I think it has skewed a lot of people's minds. And I don't really, I don't mean to like a real negative or a condescending way, but there's just a lot of ignorance, and I mean ignorance in the literal way of that there's a lack of education on that exact subject, or a lack of experience, a lack of knowledge on how things actually work. And so I think it's real easy to use influencers, since that's the world we live in today. I think it's real easy to manipulate the influencer side of things, the media, you know. In my opinion, if I have to pay 4 times as much for the same piece as, and I mean, when I mean the same piece, I mean, when I have to pay 4 times as much for this piece of steel, just because it's Magna cut, just because a bunch of people said it was better. And it's brand new now, by the way. And yes, I know development is always ever changing. And everything was brand new at one point. I get that. I know. But, you know, when you start pushing it in a negative way, meaning, you know, the people that you're this is a touchy subject, because if you start speaking wrong to some people, then I mean, you may as well put a fucking target on your back and ask the mafia to come and burn down your house. And that, to me, tells me all I need to know about the movement of super steels and new development steels. Look, if you've got to cut down your competition, I mean, without any And look, Gabriel at Last Huntsman Outdoors just had a rant on this a little while back, and the truth is the average person can't tell the difference. Just can't tell the damn difference between an ingot stainless steel like AEBL and LMAX, or a CPM steel, a powder metallurgy steel. Most people cannot tell the difference. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the majority of people can't tell the difference. In fact, if you had no idea who the maker was, no inclination of who the maker was, what steel it was, if they were similar performing or in the same class of steel, unless we're talking about, one of the biggest things with the MagnaCut is the corrosion resistance. People have talked a bunch of crap about AEBL and Nitro V. I mean, in truth, those two are so close in makeup that, I really can't tell a whole lot of difference between them, and I've done a lot with both of them. In fact, I have AEBL and Nitro V sitting on my shelf in there. They're so close in makeup that it's not enough to call them such a drastically different steel, but they are different from powder metallurgy steels. And when you're working with them, you can tell the difference. When you're grinding them, you can tell the difference. You can feel the difference. Hell, if you sharpen knives all the time, then you may be able to feel the difference. One of the things that you're going to notice, though, is the hardness. And that's not necessarily the steel, because you can get Nitro V up to 64.5 Rockwell. And I'm not saying that it's going to sharpen the same as 64.5 MagnaCut, but look, if you're so picky that you can tell the difference between MagnaCut at 64.5 and Nitro V at 64.5, well, maybe you've got a little bit of a basis for calling them what they are, or I don't know, if you can really tell that much of a difference. Really, though, can you tell so much of a difference that it's worth 4 times as much? Really, be honest with yourself, because Nitro V is a relatively cheap steel. It's relatively cheap, and I have to charge on average about $50 more for Nitro V than I do ADCR V2. The number one reason for that is because all my grinding, well, not all of it, but majority of my grinding can be done with ADCR V2 before heat treat. These are oil quenched. I like a differential heat treat, gives me a better edge stability and a higher hardness at the edge, because I'm differential heat treating, meaning I'm not heat treating a flat bar of steel. The hardness is not going to be the same from the spine to the edge. It's not going to be the same. But that's just the way that stuff is made to be. It's okay to do that. But you can't really do that kind of thing with plate quenched or air quenched. If you're plate quenching, then all your grinding's got to be done after heat treat. At least I do all of my grinding after heat treat with Nitro V. Now, the difference between rough grinding a completely flat bar of steel at 62 Rockwell and grinding a flat bar of steel at like 55 pre-heat treat is night and day. And it's so night and day. If you watch enough of these live streams, you'll get to see it. You will get to see it. And like Steven and Zach and Fed Harrison and a lot of these guys that have been in here today, they've watched a lot of these live streams. They know the difference in belt consumption that I go through. Now when I sit down and I grind a bunch of ADCR V2 blades. I can grind 10, 12, 15, sometimes 20 blades, rough grind, with one of these 36 grit before heat treat. No shit, that many. And then after heat treat, the only thing that I've got to do to them is get them a little closer to that edge thickness and finish them out. There's no roughing them. There's no real heavy work, you know. But with Nitro V, they don't get to look like this until after they're heat treated entirely. And that is because these are plate quenched. I quench these. They come out of this kiln right here, wrapped in this tool wrap. This is a 309 stainless tool wrap. Okay, these blades will be wrapped in that, nice and tight so no air gets in. Okay, and then I'll put them right into here, into these aluminum plates, in the foil and all, and then I'll clamp it down tight, and that will quench them. Take them from about 1960 degrees down to what we want is below 1500 within 3 minutes. Honestly, these guys are about these guys are about hand cold in 2.5 minutes or less and ready to go in the cryo. The faster the better, but I mean, you don't want an immediate, it needs to be a controlled quench. That's why we use an aluminum plate. But anyway, if your edge has been ground to center, if you've done any pre-grinding, just consider this. When you plate quench it, if any part of this is ground and it's not flat, then it's not getting quenched. It's not getting quenched the same way. It's just not. And I've tested this. I have my own opinions of it, and it may be different from others, and that's fine. But, and I'm no better than anybody else. I know what I've done with this, and I know what my results have shown me. I haven't had anybody complain about my Nitro V yet. I'm not saying that nobody ever will. I've noticed that you can't do anything with stainless that you can't do anything pre-heat treat. It's got to be done after heat treat. Another reason for that is, let's just say that you grind a center. Now, AEBL Nitro V, 14C28 and 13C26. A lot of these ingot stainless steels will warp. And they'll warp, and this one's nice and straight, but they will warp after heat treat, right after you pull them out of quench. You can do this number with them, and they will bend like a banana. And I mean, they'll do it easier than, like, well, this is ADCR V2 that's been heat treated. But before this stuff is heat treated, it's like 54, 55, and you can bend it as well. This this quenched stainless will bend easier than that. It's gummy. It's very, very strange. My point is, if you grind to center and your blade warps just slightly, let's just say your blade warps just slightly, okay? Well, we're going to take it to the surface grinder. I put it on the surface grinder. We run it through the machine here. We get it all nice and flat. Whatever side I have to take more off of to get it straight, is that center line that it was ground to still center? Is it though? With that being said, why grind it at all before heat treat if it's got any possibility of warping and you might have to readjust that center line? Why not just never grind it at all? That just means, without a shadow of a doubt, that all of your grinding must be done after heat treat. And you know what? There's a bunch of people that do grinding after heat treat with everything. Carbon steel, the tool steels, CPM steels, ingot stainless steels. They just don't even bother because of warpage. Now, again, I've found that with ADCR V2, The differential heat treating process is the way for me to get exactly what I want out of this steel. And it's the only way for me to get exactly what I want out of this steel. But you can't, it's not every steel is the same. And with that being said, if every steel's not the same, if they're not all done to the maximum of their own potential, then you're missing out on the best qualities of those steels, no matter what kind of reputation that these steels have. If this is not done right by the right maker at the right, if the recipe's wrong, you're not going to get the best of that steel anyway. So, I don't understand how anybody can claim to be an expert on a certain steel after having done it only a couple of times, because you haven't tested high and low. You haven't tested for your own self what your recipe in your kiln, in your oven, you haven't tested it. And you really just haven't tested it if you've done 2 or 3 knives either. I just don't. I think a lot of makers should be sticking with a steel. Pick a steel and stick with it. Master it, figure out. If it's a junk steel, then don't do it. If nobody's wanting it, then don't do it. Pick something else. But, I feel like every 6 months something new comes out. We just had such a massive influx of consumerism steel. Like, look at MagnaCut. We've been on this MagnaCut hype train. Now we got MagnaMax. Well, I thought MagnaCut was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why did it ever need to be changed then? Why did it ever need to be changed? And then there is the argument that has been pushed around. Why are people still using steels like 1095 and ADCR V2? Well, hold on. Why didn't we just keep with MagnaCut? Why did we move to MagnaMax? It's the same argument. It's the same damn argument to me. Steel is steel. Do what you want with it. Shamalama Ding Dong is a highly scientific term. Yeah, that's right. Shamalama Ding Dong steels. The marketing is very good is not the word. It is absolute textbook marketing for the MagnaCut. And I'm not saying that it sucks. I'm just saying that if I have to pay 4 times the amount of my normal steel to find out if it sucks or not, I'm not ever going to find out anyway, because I don't give a shit. I don't want something that nobody can afford. Look at the difference in seriously. There for a while, and I haven't even looked in a minute, but the only size that I could get MagnaCut in was a 3-foot bar, not a 4-foot bar. And it was like $190 for a 4-foot bar, or a 3-foot bar MagnaCut. And I could get 5 bars of the same size, but 4 foot of Nitro V for the same price. So like 6 knives or 15 knives for the same price, or hell, even 20. Who's winning here? Who's really, truly, who's winning here? Are we winning because we're paying 5 times as much for something? Wouldn't you rather? I would personally rather spend, let's just say, if I had to make this knife in MagnaCut, it would be $400. Number one, it has to have such a massive, outrageous high hardness for it to be the god of all steels, which means that I'm going to run through twice as many belts doing it. Not only is it 4 times as expensive, but now it's 4 times as expensive for me to just grind because it's so much higher hardness, okay? This knife in Nitro V is $200, $220. I can get 2 of these and do whatever the hell I want with them for the price of the same knife one knife and Magna Cut. So I don't want to keep doing aggressive or sharpening or whatever. I mean, hell, I've not had any issues with Nitro V and how it holds an edge. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I like it better than 3V. I just do, and I don't care who's gonna bust my chops for that. But I think Nitro V is better than 3V. I do, and by a long shot, especially in corrosion resistance. And it's not supposed to be that way, but Nitro V to me, just better. That's my opinion, and everybody is free to their own opinion, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not the one that's going to sit here and tell you that you're an idiot for buying Magna Cut. I'm just going to tell you I'm not buying Magna Cut because it's too expensive, and I don't want to work with it because it's too expensive. Just the way it is. But I would love to see what comes of it over time, and to see if it lives up long term to the hype that it has gained, because there are steels that are still around after 30-40 years for a damn reason. They're still here for a reason, because we don't care about the next biggest thing. This steel is still so good that it's got our addresses blown up. We don't care what your new steel is. We like this stuff, but we'll try the new stuff. We're just going to stick with this, you know, and that's all right. So I've had two different users tell me the same thing in the same words, and these guys were. One of them, he has 6 knives on the board right now. He buys a lot at a time, and he carves with all of them. He uses all of them. His name's John, and he sent me a big old bag of spoons that he carved a long time ago. Anyway, John was hell-bent on Nitro V. I don't think he had any of my ADCR V2. Well, so he started buying them. He was finding some very good knives on eBay, some Gen 1s. He found some brass pin Gen 1s. I don't know where the hell he's finding them, because I look all the time too. I'm just curious. But he started using ADCR V2, and he said, your ADCR V2, your Nitro V is essentially a stainless ADCR V2. It sharpens so similarly. It holds an edge. The Nitro V is definitely better, and you can definitely tell. But it sharpens similarly, it holds an edge, and starts to wear similarly. Naturally, a lot of that has to do with my geometry and how I do things. Naturally, every maker's is going to be their own. It's their own thing. You know, it's from my hands, so it's going to be my own thing. And I know that has something to do with it, but so I carried my ADCR V2 for so long, and then when I started carrying my Nitro V, I did that test knife, and I carried it for 6 months, and then I made my last adventure, and a lot of you guys know what that looks like, but it was a Gen 2 with the dark green handles, just like these, no coating, Gen 2, and I carried it up until Blade Show when I made this one. This is ADCR V2. I'm not gonna lie, I got used to the Nitro V that I was carrying, and the edge retention is good enough that I was able to pick it out pretty quick. The Nitro V, and I've been saying this for a long time too, the Nitro V holds a better edge. It just does. And I also tested my Nitro V on the corrosion resistance side, because that was the biggest thing. People saying that these ingot stainless steels, they don't corrode, corrosion resistance worth a flip. Whatever. Honestly, I put mine away with wet hands. I would cut damn, hell, I cut citrus with my Nitro V Adventure and that test knife too, and put the knife away in the sheath. I mean, just leave it alone. Yep, the one that's been lasered to pieces. Yep, that's one of them. Yes, that's one of them. I did end up lasering that one to pieces. I needed a finished knife to test the laser on. Anyway, I tried to get my Nitro V to spot up anywhere, and it wouldn't. I couldn't get it to. In fact, I even, the last time that I touched that Nitro V Adventure, it's sitting on my dresser at home, I used it with wet hands and put it away wet. I haven't touched it. It's been like 2 weeks. I don't expect there to be anything on it or wrong with it. No spotting, no nothing. And that was one of the biggest complaints with the ingot stainless steels, like AEBL. I do believe one of those marginal differences that is more noticeable with Nitro V over AEBL is the corrosion resistance. AEBL does not have, it's marginal again, but it doesn't quite have the same corrosion resistance as Nitro V. That being said, I have one of my AEBL kitchen knives at home that I made, and the kids use it all the time, and I know for a fact that they don't do a good enough job to clean out from underneath the handles, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not got any corrosion on it at all. So is the Magna Cup worth paying a whole bunch of extra? I mean, hell, not to mention a lot of these massive super steels, you can't even get a hold of them right now because of how popular they are, which just makes them twice as expensive anyway. So anyway, I have rambled on so long that I never even finished these. Yes, see, that's what I was talking about. Emma left it out on the counter dirty last night. But you know what? I don't complain about it. A lot of you guys know that I'm quite abusive and neglectful of my knives. There's 2 reasons for that. I have conditioned myself no worries, Connor. You're good, bud. Dude, if I sit here and ramble, it's because I want to, I promise. Because I don't talk much. It's okay, man. It's okay. It's really okay. I promise. I haven't had this discussion yet in a long while, and it was due. So, no, it's not. Not anymore. It's really not. And that doesn't bother me. I don't care. Nitro V's not USA made. It's made by Buderas. So I don't care, honestly. It's not a big deal to me. One day it would be nice to have everything USA made. Unfortunately, it's just not something that we're able to do. I would like to have one of the first major knife companies that does everything in-house, though. 150%. Yes, it will be Niagara from now. Yeah, but they did delete a bunch of their steels, too. So they are taking on a good bit. I just burned that pamphlet the other day ago. That was not foreshadowing, but or any kind of subliminal hate towards Niagara. It was in a box that I just burned the other day ago. Anyway, I gotta finish these right quick. But Connor, I'm glad you stopped in. The dumbest question is the one that you never asked. So don't be afraid to ask. Ask them questions, bud. Never hurts. I say that. Sometimes you get assholes that don't want to answer any question. Sometimes I'm like that too. Well, I try not to be. Alright. Come on in, let's get this done. But a lot of you guys know that when I get to rambling like this on live stream, that's a good sign because I'm proving. I'm proving we're moving. I have not had a discussion like this on live stream in weeks. So it's a good thing. Let's eat it. I will sit here and talk myself hoarse though, and I almost have. Almost done, and then we'll take a look at these one more time once they're all shined up and oiled, because the oil will bring out that color in the micarta. Pretty cool. Almost done. One more. One more. Let's run these across this Scotch-Brite over here. Put this away. So here's what they look like before. And here's what they look like after. Beautiful, right? almost done. 7. Whoops. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Yeehaw! That's half the laminate order. Happy. That is half of it. Well, thank you, Rodriguez. Let's have a look at what we've done over here. Now, before we go too awful crazy, let me get this, I need to get my desk cleaned up. I'm so ready to get this desk extension, these benches extended and solidified because I'm so tired of the lack of space. I'm ready to get my other benches put up. Done. Alright, so make sure that we're oiled up. These aren't too crucial. Just want to make sure they don't turn into rust buckets. But the ones that I'm oiling now, these guys are going to get bead blasted anyway, so it's not too big of a deal, in truth. But these guys, these finished ones, these guys need to get cleaned up for good. That way we don't have any issues with rust. They are ready for sharpening, but that's about another hour-and-a-half process that I'm not willing to spend today. I'm ready to go home. So we're just gonna save these, and I would rather just stand at the grinder and sharpen the next ones all together with them anyway. So here's what they look like when you spray some oil on them. Ready? Pretty cool. Look at that blue pop, that red. There's those, that side. Now, I like to leave them set in the WD-40 for a few minutes because anything that's left on the surface, like dust, that will scratch the surface. If I take a rag to it right now and just start wiping real hard, a lot of that dust will leave some scratches. But the WD-40 will get up underneath there and lift it all off. As long as you leave it sitting there for a minute, it'll just lift it right off, and then it'll come clean pretty easily. So, there we have it. That is 14 finished products. Well, 12 finished products. These 3 guys right here have to get Cerakoted, and I will have 2 more. These guys have to get Cerakoted too. So I got to do the same thing that I just did with all these over here. 1 of each color. There's Adventure Juniors right here. There's 7 of them. So 1 of each color, and then 1 in all black Gen 3. And then it'll be the same thing for the Tradition Juniors as well. But that'll be tomorrow. And these guys go a lot quicker. They've got a thinner handle material that drills faster, cuts faster. They just go a little faster. Which is why I started with the thicker ones today. Another good reason. So once these guys have sat here for a little while, my goodness, that is way too tight. There we go. Why? Yep. Alright, so once these guys have sat here for a minute, that WD-40 has already gotten up underneath the surface of everything. And it'll all just wipe right off. There's a finished ADCR V2 Rambler. Hot little knife. That one is in that. This one is in green. I like the green. Probably one of my favorite colors on the Rambler is the burgundy. It's what Fed just got. That Miss VGKC, she carries one just like this. It looks just like this. Burgundy. And it's a good looking knife. A really good looking knife. And then our middle daughter, Emma, she has a red one. Looks just like this. Our oldest daughter, our oldest child, Jovi, she's got a blue one. Looks just like this one. And she's carried it so much. She carries it every day. She's carried it so much that the handle is now a little different color. It's not much of a blue. I mean, it's still blue, but it's faded and got a more of a black blue look to it. It's really good look. It's got a good looking patina. Adventure and the Adventure Junior blade length. I think it's only like 1/4 of an inch, honestly, the difference between the two in length. Let's see. Yeah, it's about 1/4 of an inch. Maybe not even 1/4 of an inch. It's close. The biggest difference is that thickness. So on the Adventure Juniors, I like about 15 thousandths at the edge. That's where it's sitting. It's about 14.5. That's where that one's sitting. That's the Adventure Junior. And then for the Adventure, I like 18 to 20. I really like it up to that 20 mark. That's where I like them to be. But these ones have a lot thicker spine, and so they taper up faster. So a lot of times when I grind them, I'll grind them down to about 18. And then when you put an edge on these, it'll bump it up to about 25. So this one is setting, see that 20 mark? It's sitting about 17.5, 18. Right, it's right dead on 18. It's right dead on 18. So that's where I like them. With the edge, it'll be somewhere around that 20 to 22 mark, which is exactly perfect. Even up to 25, I'm happy with the Adventures running up to 25 thousandths behind the edge. That's where I like them. So anywhere in the 22 to 25 range of thickness at the edge for the Adventure, and then the Adventure Junior with that 1/8 inch stock, and the blade isn't as wide, so the taper isn't as long, so that the geometry isn't, I mean, it's a lot different. It really is, just in thickness alone. But these guys are thinner, higher up than these, the full-size Adventure. The Juniors, they're just a little slicier. For me, I think they're too small. I really do. I don't hate on the Adventure Juniors, but it is one of the only models that I have yet to carry a whole bunch. I did carry a Tradition Junior for a long time. In the pocket, I like a hollow grind because I like a super mega wicked slicey thin edge, because I don't use it for anything hardcore. That's what my Adventure on my belt is for. I abuse it. I use it. I don't care. I'm gonna beat it up, and I will never do that with my pretty knife in my pocket. But that being said, I don't know. I don't know if I felt like I haven't made it slicey enough, or maybe it just, I don't know. I haven't given the Adventure Junior as much of a chance as I have wanted to, I guess. So I get so stuck on one thing. I'm a boring person. Well, when it comes to carrying things, I'll carry the same knife every day for a couple of years and never consider anything else. I get stuck on things. I don't like change. Anyway, so there you have it. That is a wrap on this session. That went pretty good. I'm pretty happy. We've got a whole bunch of knives sitting here. Now all finished up. I will be, without a doubt, finishing the rest of this order tomorrow, at least to this stage, with handles finished, ready to sharpen at least. But then I'm going to try and get some of my other orders caught up, because I've got I got Connor Mash and Florin's has got let's see, I've got 3 First Strikes Gen 3. This is a Gen 3 First Strike, and then 2 of these Nitro V ones are going to be Gen 3 as well, and they're all going to be black. And then I have 1 Adventure that's going to be black, Gen 3. So I want to get those caught up before I do, because there's only going to be 4 blades right there for Cerakote. So I'm going to try and at least get a full rack. A full rack is 8. I'm gonna try and do that before getting to Cerakote. But that shouldn't be too hard, because all of these blades I got heat treated last week. So Zach Schmidt, you've got a knife coming, one of these. Oh yeah, while I got you here, Zach. While I got you here, I was gonna ask. Oh, come on, really? Just give me a clean one. Black Gulso bolts. I know you wanted the Gulso bolts. Black Gulso bolts or the stainless Gulso bolts. And also, yeah, Zach. So Zach's design, I'm going to be doing a run of Zach's design here soon. The Lone Star. That one's going to be cool. I will be doing a run of that. That's going to be the first. I have two different knives that I want to do a run of. But I will be doing a run of Lone Stars here soon with the burgundy handles and orange liners. That's going to be super cool. And then I will be I'll be running on with a new model, not a bigger new model, but one that I anticipate might turn into something. I don't know. I'm hoping that it'll be really big as well. We'll see how both of them do. I'm interested, but I've got 2 coming up. That'll be fun. My phone's gonna die, and the missus has called me home for dinner, so it is time to go. And I appreciate everybody tuning in for today's very lengthy and very yappity. Oh boy, I've gone hoarse. I've talked so much. Yeah, I think so. I have both. So I'll look at them both, and I mean, it's not like they're married to the knife either. Like when I do the Gen 3 stuff, I have a set of screws, a handful of those screws that I just use for fitting, and then I'll pull those out when the knife is finished and I do the Cerakote or whatever I'm going to do with it, and then I'll just put I'll put brand new screws in it without anything like that. Oh boy, thanks Fed, love you brother. Let's see, what else did I miss? And there was a bunch of activity today. Rodriguez, thanks for sticking around, bud. And Connor, thanks for asking the $1 million question that got us on the rambling. John, thanks for stopping by and watching. Steven, it's good to see you as always, brother. Guys, I am going to take off to the house and go find somewhere cool to hole up for the evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be doing a live stream tomorrow again. Same thing. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.